18 to 22 for each problem, use a calculator to find the measure of angle t. Round to the nearest tenth. Remember to set your calculator mode to degree. Okay, let's take a look at number 18. We have a right triangle here, and I'm being asked to find the measure of angle t. Now, if you're asked something similar to this, you need to make sure that when you're finding the measure of a particular angle, you have to use the inverse trig function. That means you're going to press second on your calculator, and you're going to press the appropriate trig function, okay? All right, let's take a look at 18. So I got to find the measure of angle t. Where's angle t located? T is right here, and I'm going to label the figure. So this is the opposite side, this is the adjacent side, and this is the hypotenuse because it's across from the 90-degree angle. That's the hypotenuse. Now, let me go ahead and highlight the given information. We have 32, that's adjacent, and 101, that's the hypotenuse. If I were to write SOHCAHTOA on my paper, that will help me figure out which one I need to use. I have, again, adjacent, hypotenuse. That looks like I'm going to be using or cosine. So I write cosine of your angle of reference, which is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So it's 32 over 101. But I'm not done here, because my goal is to figure out what angle t is, right? The measure of angle t. So I need to undo the trig function. I have to, take the inverse. So I write cosine minus 1 is equal to, cosine minus 1 of 32 over 101, which will give me the measure angle t. So let's write second cosine, or I shouldn't say write second, I should say press second on your calculator. Then press cosine, so you get cosine minus 1 of 32 divided by 101. And then press enter. So since I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, my answer is approximately 71.5 degrees, because we're trying to figure out how long this angle here is. Okay, so that's the answer for number 18. Number 19. Since I'm looking for the measure of angle t, I will circle the angle of reference and then label opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent, and then highlight the given information. So 14 root 3 is the opposite side and 34 is the adjacent side. I write SOHCAHTOA. And I'm dealing with opposite adjacent, so I'm using tangent. So tangent of the angle of reference, which is t, is equal to 14 root 3 over 34. And because I'm trying to figure out what the measure of angle t is, I need to use the inverse tangent function, right? So I write tan minus 1 of 14 root 3 over 34, which is going to give me the measure angle t. So I write second tan, and it's probably a good idea to put parentheses around 14 root 3 because there are two numbers involved, right? Those two numbers are being multiplied. So I'm going to put 14 root 3 and give them, parentheses to put inside. So 14 root 3, close it, and then divide by 34. Because what I'm doing right now is I'm worried about orders of operations here. So let's see. I think we're good with the parentheses here, because I want 14 root 3 to be in its own parentheses so I can have them multiplied and then divide by 34, not 14 root 3 divided by 34, and the root 3, gets divided by that 34. I don't want that to happen. I need to make sure that I'm doing my orders of operations correctly. So press enter, and the measure of angle T is approximately 35.5 degrees. Okay, so that's your answer. 20, here's T. This is opposite, this is hypotenuse, and this is the adjacent side. Okay, so I'm going to highlight the given information. I have opposite hypotenuse, so SOHCAHTOA. Look at that. We have so. That means I write sine of T equals 7/18. Or, because I want to figure out how long the measure angle T is, I will use the inverse trig. I got to undo this trig function over here. So it is sine minus 1 of 7/18, and that's going to give me measure angle T. So I press second sine, so I get sine inverse of 7 divided by 18, press enter. The measure angle T is approximately 22.9 degrees, by the way. All right, number 21, here's T. So this is opposite, this is hypotenuse, this is the adjacent side. So highlight the given information. I have opposite adjacent. So if I write SOHCAHTOA, well, again, I'm dealing with opposite adjacent, so that means I'm going to use TOA or tangent. So I write tangent of T equals 3/4, because I want to get the inverse tangent, or sorry, because I want to get T by itself, I got to use the inverse tangent. So tan minus 1 of 3/4 equals measure angle T. So second tan 3 divided by 4, hit enter. So the measure of angle T is approximately 36.9 degrees. All right, 22, again, we're going to figure out what the measure of angle T is. So label your figure, opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. So I have hype and adjacent. So SOHCAHTOA of adjacent hypotenuse. That sounds like I'm going to be using the cosine function here. So cosine of T equals 15/22. So second cosine, so cosine minus 1 of 15/22. So the measure of angle T is approximately 47. I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, and that 1 is not going to do anything to that 0, so really your answer is 47 degrees. All right. So that's 18 to 22 for you. Let's take a look at this word problem over here. It says from the top of a 220-foot tower. So this is your tower, and it's 220 feet long. An air traffic controller, Ms. Foster, observes an airplane on the runway at an angle of depression of 25 degrees. Okay, so Ms. Foster is right here, and she looks horizontally. This is the horizontal line of sight, but when she notices the airplane, she looks down, and that creates the angle of depression. So this is the angle of depression at 25 degrees, right? And if this here is 25 degrees, then by the alternate interior angles, this also is 25 degrees. Okay? What is the question saying? It says, how far from the base of the tower, so this is the base of the tower, is to the airplane. So really, I'm trying to figure out the length of the horizontal line down here. So I'm just going to call that X. And where do I begin? Well, I don't want to use this. I'm going to use this 25 because here you can see if you see this, it looks like a right triangle, right? So I can go ahead and label my figure here. I have, this is my angle of reference, by the way. So this is opposite, this is hypotenuse, and then this is the adjacent side. So we have 220, and we need to get that x involved, right? So I have opposite, adjacent. It looks like I'm going to be using the tangent function because TOA, opposite, adjacent. So tangent of 25 equals 220 over x. I got to get x by itself. Notice that x is in the denominator, right? So let's swap the tangent of 25 and x together. You get x equals 220 over tangent of 25. So I put 220 divided by tangent of 25. Make sure your calculator is in degree. So if I'm going to round to the nearest tenth, I look at the 0.79. That 9 will dictate whether that 7 will go up or remain the same. But since 9 is above 5, yes, the 7 will go up. So it's approximately 471.8 feet long. That is how long, or how far from the base of the tower is to the airplane. So that is 471.8 feet long. All right, there you go. That is the third page of the review.